Recently, one of my students told me she was wrestling with the whole issue of white privilege. Does the Bible address this issue? You bet it does. Hello, everyone. A term that is thrown around a lot today is white privilege. Let's start by defining it. The left argues that power, income, influence, health, and a host of other advantages come to a person simply because they are white. White privilege, white advantage, is built into the structure of our society. And if you don't agree with this and attack the concept, this has become known as white fragility. A white person simply can't handle being accused of implicit and systemic bias. They are too fragile to admit it. This is not a new problem. In every society of the ancient world, the dominant group felt they had privileges. Only unlike today, they didn't feel guilty about them. They felt they were deserved. Romans believed in Roman privilege. Greeks believed in Greek privilege. Jesus dealt with it every day. The people he interacted with believed in Jewish privilege. They were the chosen people of God, and they were simply better than everyone else. They hated other groups, like Samaritans. And we all know about the Samaritans because of Jesus' parable. The great doctrinal mistake of white privilege, and the place where it goes destructively wrong, is its argument that you are guilty or innocent based on the group you are in. The Bible repudiates this. The clear teaching of biblical theology is that God's evaluation of you, your eternal destiny, and your earthly relationship with Him is always determined individually. Biblical promises are never conditioned on group identity. In the last book of the Bible, the text describes a giant choir gathered around the throne of God. They sing to Jesus, "You have redeemed us to God by your blood, out of every tongue and tribe and people and nation." This will be the most diverse group in the history of the universe. In Luke 3, John the Baptist is preaching repentance. Some in his audience were offended. They felt they needed no repentance. "We are sons of Abraham." John turns to them and says, God can turn rocks into sons of Abraham. God respects no one's ethnicity, no one's group, no one's race. He looks at your heart and judges you without reference to anything else. Are you a follower of Jesus Christ? Then you are a member of the most privileged group that has ever existed. There is no such thing as white privilege. Gospel privilege, however, is very real. And if you know Jesus, you possess it. If you are black, or Asian, or Latino, or white, or female, or poor, or disabled, and you know Jesus Christ, you are the most privileged person who has ever lived. I want to make 4 further observations about this issue. First, the entire debate about race in this country is omitting the astonishing racial progress that has occurred in America. In the goodness of God, we have the wealthiest black community that has ever existed. It is the best educated. It is politically the most free. It is paradise compared to every other country in Africa, and in fact, practically every country in the world. Yes, racism still exists, but it is not the big story about being black in America. My second observation, it is an enormous disservice to the people of color to tell them that their biggest problem is other people. I will say to you what I've said to my own black children. For every person on this planet, their biggest problem is their own sin. In an excellent video, Denzel Washington says that the great need of the black community is fathers who will simply raise their own children. We should really be talking about family privilege. My 3 black children have enormous advantages over white children who have no family support. My third observation, the discussion on implicit racism or systemic racism is basically useless and is a reiteration of the doctrine of original sin. Yes, we have racism in our hearts, along with every other ism. It's the human condition, and to try to single out racism as a major component of this is theologically in error. Fourth, is racism the biggest problem facing America? Not in my view. The biggest problem is this: the progressive left has committed themselves to the task of determining our cultural agenda. They get to decide what issues matter and what solutions are allowed. They have determined that racism is the preeminent problem in our society because fighting racism gives meaning to their lives. It is the primary component of their religion. Racism is a problem that other people have, not them. They think they occupy the moral high ground, from which they look condescendingly on the rest of us, calling us racists, sexists, xenophobes, and homophobes. Their bigotry, their hatred of God, their hatred of the people of God is the primary problem in America. I'm not saying we should never preach on racism, but the real battle is here. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I look forward to your comments and questions below. May God bless you in a mighty way.